first, I want you guys to think about this. Who has ever said this? I'm so busy. How many of you have said that? Everybody in the room, right? I'm sure all of us have said this. I used to say it all the time. I'm even guilty of saying it every now and then. But here's really the reality is that we choose to be busy, okay? And I can tell you from experience, I used to say this so much. I was a workaholic many, many years ago, and I was proud of it. I thought, that's just what busy working moms did. We, took our kids to do the different activities. We took on extra projects at work. I just sort of thought it was like a rite of passage being, the working mom. But really what I understand it to be now is this glorification of busyness. It's this idea that the more busy we are, we're more important, more relevant, more valued. When I was at work, when I was working in a corporate job, we would get recognized, right? If we worked late or worked on the weekends. Or at the school, right? If we were on the PTA or volunteered for all the school projects, right? We got recognized. And so we're like, okay, this feels good. Being a workaholic, being busy is good. And I used to think being a workaholic was really not a bad thing. Like I said, I took it as a compliment. But here's the thing, we are a nation of workaholics. The US is the most overworked, developed nation in the entire world. 85% of working men and 55% of working women work more than 40 hours a week. And they're not getting paid for those extra hours either. And 33% of salaried workers are working on the weekends too. So not only are we working in our regular jobs, right, for those of us who are still working, but when we go home, we're working as parents too. And the lie that we tell ourselves, the lie that I used to tell myself, is that being busy just means we're being really productive, right? We're squeezing in more activities, more projects, more after-school activities and sports activities. It means we're more accomplished. Our kids are more accomplished. It's kind of like we're playing keeping up with the Joneses with our time, and then we do that comparison game with people. Oh, you've got 2 soccer games this weekend? I've got 3 soccer games. Plus I've got a class, right? Plus I've got all the groceries to buy. Plus I have to do all of these other things. But here's what I want to tell you is that busyness is not the same as being productive. We sometimes think to be productive, we need to be busy all the time and squeeze in more projects, but sometimes the act of scaling back is what makes us more productive, and we'll get more into that in just a bit. So why do we want to be busy all the time? I think really it gets down to we want to be valued, right? We want to be recognized. Men help so much more on the home front. My husband is a huge help at home, right? I love what Carrie was saying yesterday when her and Dave sort of split their duties kind of 50-50. We're pretty close to that. But I think women hear this motto of we can do it all, and we literally think we have to do it all. That's how I used to feel. It's volunteering at the school, taking on extra projects, baking the cupcakes for the class, all of the things. I felt the pressure. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, if I bake the homemade gluten-free cupcakes with the raw honey frosting for my kids, that somehow meant that I loved my kids more. And I want you to hear how ridiculous that sounds, right? Homemade cupcakes don't make you a better parent than someone who gets the store-bought cupcakes. It's ridiculous. But these are sort of the lies that we tell ourselves, right? And so it's ridiculous when you hear that, and I just want to stop the comparison game. So why do we say yes? Why do we say yes to all the things? So many reasons. We want to feel important, like I said earlier, valued, and we want to get recognized. Sometimes it's a guilt thing. Depending on how we were raised, we feel bad if we say no. Sometimes it's, wanting to fit in, right? The cool moms at the school who make the homemade cupcakes, right? It's like, okay, I want to fit in with them. Sometimes it's a duty that we have, right? We want to reciprocate. Sometimes it's a need for power. Well, if I volunteer, then they'll have to volunteer, and then maybe I'll get the upper hand on this. Or sometimes it's just a comparison, and that's really where it was rooted for me, was it was really kind of a comparison, not necessarily with other moms, but with myself and my own childhood. When I was in elementary school, I had a friend named Kelly, and we played after school. We went to the beach. We did sleepovers. We were best friends, had so much fun together. But one thing that I remember about her was her mom was awesome. My mom was awesome too, but her mom was awesome. She brought in, I just had to put that in there. She would bring in treats for the schools, right? It was the cookies, the homemade cupcakes. I don't even think I had even experienced a Rice Krispie treat before until she brought it in. And I'm like, what is this goodness? It is so delicious. For Halloween, she dressed up as a witch, right? And just did all the fun activities. And I was like, wow, this is so fun. And it was just a different childhood experience than what I had had. You know, my mother was a single parent. She worked 14 to 16 hours a day. It wasn't that she didn't want to do those things. She just didn't have the time. She was overworked. She was tired. She was both mom and dad trying to make ends meet. So it wasn't that I regretted anything. I did feel like I was missing out. So when my kids were born, I'm like, we're doing all the things. I'm dressing up as a witch. I'm bringing in the cookies. I'm bringing in the cupcakes. Like, we're doing it all because I don't want to miss out, and I didn't want my kids to miss out. And I just thought feeling overwhelmed was just a normal part of motherhood. So because of this, FOMO, right? I didn't want to miss out. Guess what happened? I got overworked, stressed out, edgy. I was baking all the things. And then I went from, yelling at my husband, yelling at my kids because I was frazzled all the time. I didn't have any, I didn't really have a life outside of work and kids. That's all I did. I did nothing for myself. And I remember there was this one weekend. So at the time, I was a manager for a web manager for a healthcare marketing company, and I had 15 performance evaluations to do in a weekend. So let me just paint the picture for you what this looked like. Each performance evaluation was about 10 pages, and I had to thoughtfully write, things that they could work on, their goals, critiques. Like, I had to really put, a lot of thought into it. 15 of those, so that's about 200 pages that I had to do in a weekend. And we had a birthday party. We might have even had 2 in the same weekend, and soccer games. And so this is what happened. When I'm at these activities with my kids, I would be huddled in the corner on my phone trying to do one more thing. Those are like my famous words. My husband hears that all the time. I'm like, just one more thing, just one more thing. But I wasn't fully engaged in those activities with my kids. I was just in the corner trying to get all those things done. I was burning the candle at both ends, not really enjoying, my time with my family. And this went on for a while. And then I started to feel tired. And then my treadmill broke and I stopped working out. And then I was getting like this spare tire and I was like, great, one more thing I have to worry about now, right? And then my husband came to me and he was like, do you think you might be pregnant? And I was appalled. Ladies, right? I was like, how dare you? How dare you? I was like, I am a woman. I have been pregnant twice before. I know what it's like to be pregnant. Don't tell me, right? The whole thing. But to prove that he was wrong, right, we took the pregnancy test. And it came back negative. And I was like, ha, I told you I wasn't pregnant. I know what it's like. But we got a 3-pack, right? Because that's how the pregnancy test comes in. And so took it again. He was like, just take it again. I'm like, fine, whatever. You're going to be wrong, but I'll take it again just to show you. And it came back positive. We're like, oh, wait, we need the tiebreaker. It's a 3-pack. Right? I mean, we can't just leave it there. So we took it again, positive. And we were in my bedroom, went to the bathroom, and I'm holding the 2 tests, and I sat down on the toilet, and I cried. I cried my eyes out, and these were not joyous, happy tears. These were like, what is happening right now? Like, I'm so overwhelmed. How could I not know that I was pregnant? And here is, it sounds ridiculous when I retell the story. I was so busy, I didn't know I was pregnant. But this is the ridiculous part. I was so busy, I didn't know I was 20 weeks pregnant. I was already halfway through my pregnancy. They're like, surprise, you're 4.5 months pregnant. I don't start to really show until about that time. So I was like, how could I not know that I was pregnant? That's the number one question people ask me. They're like, how did you not know? It's 4 months. I was busy. I didn't keep track. I was busy. If you had asked me, I'd be like, maybe I got it last month. I don't know. I just didn't keep track. That's how busy I was, and that's how overwhelmed I was. So I just felt really helpless, and this logical part of my brain was like, how are we going to afford this? It's another baby, the tuition, the clothes. And then the emotional part of my brain was like, I can't handle one more thing. Like, what am I going to do? I'm so overwhelmed. And that's kind of how I felt, sadly, throughout the rest of my pregnancy. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is going to be crazy. Like, I don't know how I'm going to handle all of this. And then, right? This beautiful creature, the most beautiful baby in the entire world. I'm sorry, I'm very biased. This is my son Kai. He's now 7, but he was born, and he was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I mean, maybe it was a mixture of like the pregnancy hormones and I was nursing him, but I just felt like, oh my goodness, I could just stare at him all day and just lie in bed and do nothing. And it was just this most amazing feeling where I was like, that's it. I can do nothing. I don't have to be busy anymore. I could literally do nothing. And it was like I was giving myself permission to say no because I hadn't said it before. I was saying yes to all the things because it was work and school and not wanting to miss out. And I was like, it doesn't matter. This is what matters, you know? And it wasn't like I didn't say no before because I did. Just go ask my husband. I told him no all the time. Just saying. Sorry, honey. You guys know what I'm saying, right? But it was like I was finally giving myself permission to say no to other people, no to all the sports activities, no to all the extra work projects, no to, just all the volunteer things. I'm not saying you can't do all of those things, but I did everything. And what happened was I realized that I literally could not do everything with 2 kids and a baby. So I just started saying no out of necessity. And what I found is when I started saying no, it was so freeing. And I love this quote from Warren Buffett. The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. Now, I wish I knew about this quote like 10 years ago. That would have really helped me. But I love it because it's such a great reminder. So growing up, we hear the word no all the time. It's almost like it's a 4-letter word, right? No, you can't stay up late. No, you can't eat the ice cream. No, you can't do the sleepover. No, you can't dye your hair pink, right? It's almost like, it's a 4-letter word. But here's what I want to tell you is that no is not a bad thing. It is not a 4-letter word. Saying no is freedom. For me, saying no meant that I had more time and freedom to do the things that I had never done before. When I started saying no to the work projects, nights and weekends, staying late and doing all those crazy evaluations, I finally started that blog that I had wanted to start years ago. When I started saying no to all the school functions, right? The PTA, the cupcakes, all that stuff, I finally had time to research what was going on with my husband's health. At the time, he was just getting sick all the time. We had access to the best doctors. I worked in healthcare, and we just weren't getting the answers that we wanted. And so I buckled down, I researched. We finally found a doctor who diagnosed him with an autoimmune disease. Nobody even knew what was going on with him before then. And because of that, it put him on the path to healing, right? With diet changes, lifestyle changes, supplements, all the good stuff. Okay, this is all before oils, by the way. And to have him and in a place where he is now, you guys, about 7 years ago, when Kai was born, he had a handicap pass. He was told he needed to get fusion surgery. He was told that one day he probably wouldn't be able to walk again. And if you see him now, he's out surfing every day, living his best life, right? He helps with the kids. There is no handicap pass. He can walk just fine. But what if I was so busy I couldn't research what was going on with his health? And let's be honest, ladies, right? We are usually the ones who are in charge of healthcare for our families, right? Not the men, not usually anyway. But because I had the time, I made the time, we were able to put him on a completely different path, and I have my husband back. And because we started saying no to all the birthday parties, I finally was able to spend time with my kids where it was unscheduled, unstructured, just free time, hanging out, learning that one kid likes to go fishing and do computer animation, learning another kid loves to draw. But if we were going from activity to activity, we would have never known that. So saying no was freedom for us. And saying no gave me something I never expected, and it gave me more time, it gave me more opportunities, and it gave me again. I wasn't always like this frazzled, crazy person going from activity to activity. I did that when my kids were born, right? But once I figured out how to say no, we were able to say yes to something better. And that's what I want to help you guys do today is, you don't have to say yes to all the things to bring value. You guys are all a big deal. And I want you guys to all think of yourselves as a big deal because that makes a huge change in how you sort of determine your time. In your business, in your home life, as a parent, as a friend, you guys are a big deal. And we're not going to apologize for saying no. We're going to own it because, again, our time is valuable. When we're a big deal, we know our time is valuable, right? Everything is working to steal your time and attention. And so we're going to practice pruning back and help you to learn to say no. So if you don't have this book yet, I love it. It's called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And I love this quote that he has. If you don't prioritize your own life, someone else will, or some other activities will. And so I want to give you the permission to say no. I feel like we as women are in such a unique position. When my first son was born, I remember feeling so overwhelmed. This is like an ongoing theme for me, I think, just overwhelmed. Motherhood's overwhelming for me. Work, I got it. Motherhood's very overwhelming. But I had a girlfriend, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. I'm so tired all the time. I just need some time to myself. And she was like, girl, you don't tell your husband you're going on a grocery run and then spend 3 hours at Starbucks? That's what we all do. And I was like, what? Nobody told me. I didn't know this. Why didn't you tell me this? And it was like she gave me the permission to go to Starbucks for 3 hours and just tell my husband I went to Trader Joe's. And I love that. And so that's what I want to do for you guys today, is I want to give you the permission to say no. We're going to do it. Because again, just because we can do all the things doesn't mean that we should do all the things. So we're going to talk about 7 ways to say no and to free up your time and to prioritize your life. First, you're going to say no to the things that can wait, okay? Anytime you're doing something, I want you to think, do I need to do this right now? Or is it something that can wait a few hours, a few days, a week? The things that can wait, you put it off. You don't need to worry about that right now. Get really good at figuring out what needs to be done now and say no to the things that can wait. Second, say no to the non-essentials. I have been so guilty of this, but do you really need to make your own graphics for your Facebook group? Do you really need to write your own class script, or should you be utilizing what your upline has, right? Are those things that you should be working on? No, those are non-essentials. Should you be following up with leads and meeting new people? Yes, that's the essential. So what I like to do, this is what really helps me manage my time each day, is I write down 2 to 3 things that are like non-negotiable that I need to get done for the day. And I do that for my business and for my home life. So before I do the emails or getting back to messages or scrolling through Facebook, those 2 to 3 things get done. 3, say no to always being available. So you don't get an award for answering all those messages in like a 20-minute period. I didn't know if you knew that, but just FYI. You don't need to answer emails, text messages, calls 24 hours a day. Set time in your calendar to do that. And I find that my brain functions really well with that because I'm already in follow-up mode, right? So I'll schedule like 30 minutes in the afternoon to do all the follow-up, and it's like boom, 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 it's all done. So those of you who are on my team, you'll notice I'll message you all at a certain time because in the mornings, that's my sacred time to do the most productive things that I need to do. And here's the other benefit to letting others wait and not always being available is usually when people ask you a question and you make them wait, they'll answer their own question in a few hours. And then you can go, great, I'm so glad that you researched that and you found that out on your own. 4, say no to a packed schedule. You know, when I used to work in my corporate job, my calendar looked just as ridiculous as Dave and Carrie's yesterday. It was just always packed. I actually had to schedule in bathroom time. I'm not even kidding. That's how ridiculous it was. So I'm telling you, you don't need to have a packed schedule. I would actually recommend creating white space on your calendar where you do nothing, or you make time for yourself. You go meditate, you do an exercise class, you go on a date night with your spouse. Like, all those things can go on your calendar. And it's okay to say no to all the birthday parties, all the events, all the sports activities. You know, pick and choose what you and your family really want to do. You don't have to say yes to everything. And going back to the white space, if you don't take care of yourself, we as mothers are probably the worst at this, right? Taking care of ourselves. I know I am. If you don't take care of yourself, it's going to be really hard to take care of other people. I know my tell is when I start yelling at everybody. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to go to Starbucks for 3 hours by myself, or go to the spa. And I think this is a really important message to teach your kids, right? You know, they're watching you. If they see that you're busy and running from activity to activity, they're going to think, if I need to be successful, I need to be running from activity to activity and be busy too. Busyness is not productive. Number 5, never say yes on the spot. So when someone asks you to do something, can you make those gluten-free cupcakes? Can you volunteer for this? Can you take on this extra thing? It's absolutely okay to say, you know what, let me think about it. I'll get back to you tomorrow or next week or whatever your time frame is. Again, you don't get a prize for saying yes on the spot. It is absolutely okay to reply and say, you know what, I'll get back to you. So effective. I do that all the time. Number 6, this is one of my favorites. Say no with grace and authority. And what I mean by that is, you don't have to say yes because you're capable or available. You also don't need to make excuses. When someone asks you to do something, you don't need to run through the long list of excuses. Well, I would do it this weekend, but I've got 3 soccer games, and I need to bake these cupcakes, and I need to go to Trader Joe's and buy all the ingredients. You don't need to do that. You can simply say, I'm not available, but thank you so much for thinking of me. Let me know the next time this comes up, and I'll see if I have the time. You are a big deal. Your time and freedom is a big deal. It is absolutely okay to say no and own it. Own it, right? And others will respect you for it too. Number 7, say no to overcommitment. If you don't enjoy it, if you aren't fulfilled by it, if it doesn't help you to reach your goals, it is okay to say no. It is absolutely okay to say no. Simplify your commitments. Make sure that each thing you commit to is meaningful to you or to your family. It's worth your time. And I really want to put this out there. I feel like I need to say it again and again. It's even a great reminder for myself is you're already a great mom, a boss babe, a badass boss babe, a great person, a great wife, great husband for the guys in the room. You don't need to prove yourself by saying yes to all the things. It is absolutely okay to say no. So here's really what I want to leave you with is saying no isn't about missing out. It's about simplifying and doing the things that matter most. Say no so that you can say yes to something you really want to do. Say yes to something that fills your soul, right, and helps to keep you from feeling that overwhelm, that be feeling overworked or stressed out like how I used to feel. Like, really think about this. You had to say no to something to be here today, right? Maybe you had to say no to some activities with your kids, being with your husband, whatever it was, but you said no for a better yes, and that is being here today. So always remember that. Learning to say no will give you the time and freedom to do the things you've always wanted to do. And this is my action item, because if you know me, I like action, is write down 3 things you're going to say no to for a better yes. So a no might be binge watching Netflix every single night. Now, I'm a totally reasonable person. You can do it one night, okay? But not every night, because I get it. I'm there too. Maybe it's, you're going to start saying no to all the events or all the homemade baked treats, right? Think about how that no will give you a better yes to help your family, your business, to do the things you've always wanted to do. And then look at that no list as a reminder, and remember, it's not about missing out. It's about doing what matters most, because you guys are a big deal. Your time is worth it. Your family is worth it. And you guys are so worth it. Thanks, you guys, for having me.